Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel. My name is FPL Phillips and it's time for another weekly episode of Eddie versus the Algorithm, the series here on YouTube where I'm taking on a computer-generated FPL team for every game week of the season and seeing which can score more points, that team or my own personal free hit. And now, this kind of series has stumbled into a bit of a predicament. I'm interested to hear what your guys' thoughts are down below in the comments, but for the remainder of this season, but mainly next season, would you guys be more interested in still seeing this series in the format that it is in, or would you be more interested in maybe switching over to kind of doing something more focused on the FPL Challenge, as that is in itself a weekly game mode? Could that be more relevant for you guys? We might give it a bit of a taster and maybe see how the FPL Challenge kicks off for this season. I'm personally not overly confident in the kind of game mode success itself, but that's something for you guys to let me know down below in the comments which one you would be more interested in watching, because I want to do what you guys want to see. But without any further ado, let's get into having a look at how the teams are lining up for this game week. I think the less said about last game week, the better. Although myself and the algorithm were both on free hits, I think it was 17 points or something that gave me the win. So it's now 17-10 in the series, but I feel pretty ashamed that I've won through 17 points, given that I picked every single player specific for that week. But it was a stinker all round for pretty much everyone involved. Let's wipe the slate clean, and let's get into having a look at a new, fresh game week. And now we have a pretty nice game week coming up, in my opinion. A lot of wildcards being thrown about, a lot of different chip strategies now are coming into play and coming into their element. Of course, Game Week 30 is going to be a popular time to wildcard. Game Week 34 and Game Week 37 are the big doubles coming up. So a lot going on at the moment. I'm quite excited about it. But of course, with this, we're just focused on Game Week 30 in isolation. These are the players that are predicted to score the highest amount of points, judging by the computer and the stats. And in goal, it's going to be this week Bernd Leno of Fulham. He's got Sheffield United, so again, one of those fixtures where Sheffield United, Burnley, and probably Luton are the ones that you do target when you're looking to maybe pick up a clean sheet. Although it is an away game, Leno does perform well, even away from home, I think. And Sheffield United are a team that don't blast in goals even when they are at home. So I think there's a relatively decent chance of a clean sheet in that one. I like the look of Leno, and even when he doesn't keep a clean sheet, he does often get a lot of save points. Probably not in this game. I don't imagine Sheffield United are going to have a magnitude of shots. But Leno is still a decent pick for this game week, in my view. And there are some other options in goal. You could Neto looks like a good option if you got him this week. Areola has got a Newcastle, so maybe not him. But I think a lot of people have a decent looking player between their sticks for Game Week 30. But we know, so far this season, it's been hard to come by a goalkeeper clean sheet, I think, more than ever. And it has seemed of more a rarity when those 4 points are given to our goalkeepers. But it does make it more special, I suppose, when we do see them. In the defence, anyways, where we're looking to pick up some more clean sheets through the form of Robinson, Pedro Porro, and Connor Bradley. Definitely focusing more on the attacking upside, perhaps, than clean sheet potential here. Robinson is one of those players where he could get both. Robinson is definitely the pick of the Fulham defenders, in my view anyway. Maybe Timothy Castagna could be another pick to look at, who has picked up an attacking return or two recently. But yeah, if you're looking to bring in a player in defence, I think Aït-Nouri or somewhere else is the way to go, other than bringing in a Fulham defender. So I think that is a better option. Bringing in Aït-Nouri, he has got some really nice fixtures coming up and has just done a little bit more going forward lately too. So transfer-wise, probably him. But this game week, I really do like the look of Robinson. We then got Pedro Porro, who has kind of proven himself a decent FPL asset this season. Luton at home is obviously a very nice fixture for Spurs. Maybe not over the confident of a clean sheet in that game there, but we know with Porro and Udogie on the other side, both of them can get forward and both of them can get attacking returns. So you never know. He's great on the bonus points as well, as we know. So Porro is a very good option for this week, in my view, as is Connor Bradley. Trent looks like he'll be out for 2 or more weeks, was the latest quote I saw on his injury. So Bradley does retain his starting place in that Liverpool 11, you'd imagine. Now, Brighton haven't got the worst defensive data in the league at all. They are actually quite high up, but they do tend to not really keep clean sheets. Why am I mentioning this? Because Connor Bradley is actually a rather attacking player, and he does get forward a lot. We haven't seen too much of him and Mo Salah together, but I think that Bradley is still a great option to have in your team, maybe even on a wild card at this point, and it's good to see the algorithm backing him up for this game week, not just some of the nicer fixtures that he's got left to come in game week 31, etc. In midfield, we're going to see a lineup of Heung-min Son, Mohamed Salah, Cole Palmer and James Maddison, who comes in as a late switch for Richarlison, with some recent injury news suggesting that Richarlison still might not make the game against Luton. So I like that double up of Son and Maddison, although how badly it did last week is definitely left me a little bit scarred. Luton at home is another opportunity for them to maybe make up for last week's mishaps, and Luton are missing a hell of a lot of players, which is something I wanted to mention with Para, but I thought I'd leave it for here. It's a bit more relevant. Luton are missing a lot of players. I saw a comment about the coach having to step in, and then he got injured in training because they were lacking so many kind of first-team players in their training sessions. So I don't think too many of them are going to be back for the game against Spurs, and consequently, Son, who could be playing through the middle now with the Richarlison news, looks like a very good option, not just for your team, but maybe even for the captain's armband, which we'll get onto in just a moment. Mohamed Salah back though, he is the one who does take the captaincy. Brighton is a nice game as mentioned, although not having the worst XGC data in the league by any stretch of the imagination. Mohamed Salah at home is difficult to back against when he's got a decent looking fixture. But one man who I think a lot of people are putting up to challenge Mo Salah for the captain's armband this week is Cole Palmer. So those three are the ones we're going to compare later. He's got Burnley at home, one of those fixtures that I mentioned that we should be really targeting at this point in the campaign. He's got penalties as well. So yeah, Palmer in that game hasn't got the best underlying data over the last couple of games, has had a fewer tougher games in there. Whether or not he could go big against Burnley, I think he definitely could. I think you could see 2 or 3 returns for Palmer in that one. So it's going to be a difficult call between the three for captaincy. And then finally, up front, we're going to see a striker line of Isak, Watkins and Haaland. So if you're looking for double points in the challenge this week, the algorithm is saying these are the 3 to go for. Watkins is a nice fixture against Wolves at home, and we know Villa tend to be better there. Haaland against Arsenal is just Haaland, despite Arsenal being the best defence in the league. I think that game could have a lot of goals in it. It could probably stink up the gaff and end up being a 0-0 as well. So, I can't really put too much money in it. I don't have a gut feeling particularly either way in that one. It tends to be the case with these games between two big teams. And then finally, Alexander Isak, West Ham United at home. Slightly been in poor form recently. And, Isak is a great player and a great forward. If Newcastle can kind of find some form that we saw from them last season and maybe earlier in this one as well, and just smash West Ham, then Isak could come out back with a healthy points total. It's hard for me to bench Anthony Gordon in my own personal team this week for this reason, because I don't back West Ham at all. But unfortunately, it's just between benching Gordon, Saka or Foden for me in my side. Not that anyone asked. On the bench, we're going to see Kelleher. Gordon is on the bench for the algorithm. Castagna, who I did mention earlier, and then Lascelles, who should get some more game time at 3.8, 3.9 million, with Botman out for an extended period. But you have to imagine that it is going to harm the chances of a clean sheet with Botman out in that Newcastle side when they weren't keeping too many clean sheets already. With that said and done, let's move into having a look at my team and how it differs. So it's not too different at all this week. I've had a bit one of those boring weeks where I put together my team, I saw the algorithm team, and they're pretty damn similar. I've got the exact same back four, in fact, and the midfield has those 3 players that we're going to compare for captaincy. So I thought I'd change it up with Luis Diaz, Højlund, and Jackson coming in to my front, kind of 4 players. Watkins is still in my side, but I've gone just with the players that are on my gut feeling this week. I think Diaz could do something quite nice against Brighton. Højlund against Brentford is probably my most rogue shout of the bunch, but I think there could be goals in that game between Manchester United and Brentford, so I was between him and maybe even sliding Garnacho into the midfield and switching over to a 3-5-2. And then we've got Nicholas Jackson, who is on 9 yellows, by the way, so bear that in mind if you're looking to transfer him or anything. He could get suspended for 1 or 2, is it 2 games if you get 10 yellows and be out for the next 2 game weeks. So definitely bear that in mind, but on a free hit, I don't have to worry about that. So he's in for that game against Burnley, where, as I mentioned, Chelsea could do magic. I got Gusto down there on the bench, who I was kind of hoping wouldn't be flagged, and I could maybe have slid into the starting 11. We've also got Lascelles and Mainu down there, just because I love Mainu, and Lascelles is cheap. But yeah, we'll move over to talking about the captaincy now. Can you tell I'm a Man United fan with that Mainu comment? Maybe not. Maybe Højlund coming in is part of that bias as well. But let's have a final look at the captain's armband for this week. Is Salah the right choice? Because both myself and the algorithm have gone with him. It's a tight call. Let's have a look at the data. And so here are the stats. The predicted points go in favour of Son and Salah, both tied on 7.1, but Palmer is not too far behind on 6.7, so it's a very close call there. Ownership probably isn't something you should be considering, but if you're looking at effective ownership this week, I'm not actually too sure how it's going to swing. I have a feeling that a lot of people will be looking to bring in Salah, and he might even end up being the most popular captain, but I think because of how many own Son right now, he might be well up there as well. In terms of the fixtures, it is the Luton game that is the most likely to strong to target, I should say. 2.28 expected goals conceded for them. Burnley on 1.81, so I would have perhaps expected that to be a higher number, and maybe they could have been closer to Luton, and that would have made the more appealing fixture for Cole Palmer. But seeing that has maybe changed my mind a little bit away from going for the Englishman. We then got 1.50, so as mentioned, for Brighton, their defensive numbers aren't actually all that shocking when we look at XGC. But in terms of the attacking sides, Liverpool are the strongest, 2.29 XG for them. And then Chelsea and Spurs, very little to separate them, 0.05. It's 1.88 for Chelsea and 1.83 for Spurs. And then finally, on the individual notes, Mohamed Salah, expected FPL points, 8.54 per 90 for him. Very impressive numbers indeed. Quite a margin away from the other two, which is kind of something that you only really get with players like Mo Salah and maybe Haaland in FPL. So that's, I think, the reason why a lot of people will stick to the Old Faithful, stick to the Egyptian King, and put the armband on Mo Salah. Let me know down below in the comments who you guys are choosing to captain this week, and leave in the same comment or the other comment if you want to comment now about what I mentioned at the start of the video. Do you want to see this series continue in its format? Because I know a lot of you enjoy it already. Or do you want to maybe switch over to something more FPL challenge related? Or maybe we could even do that as a separate video. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I'm interested to hear what you guys want, as well as what I think is the cool thing to do. But maybe we'll see going into next season, perhaps. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you have a good game week. I hope your arrow is ending up being green. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.